Hello and welcome to another episode of the UEFA Take Care podcast, which promotes health and well-being amongst children and young people around Europe. The objective of this initiative is to equip key figures like parents, caregivers, teachers, and coaches with the tools and knowledge to inspire their communities to adopt healthy and responsible habits. The UEFA Take Care program is structured around 6 essential modules that directly impact our daily lives. Today, we're focusing our attention on road safety. Millions of people across Europe and beyond travel daily to football matches and training sessions, be they players, coaches, volunteers, fans, or family members who are supporting their children. Being safe whilst commuting is essential for ourselves and those around us. In this episode, we will discuss the potential dangers that are present on the road and how to best navigate them. We'll talk about the importance of managing speed, focusing our attention on the road, and being aware of our surroundings. We will explore how football can be a powerful platform to promote a safer mobility. To guide us through this vital conversation, we have the immense honor of welcoming an internationally renowned figure, someone who has profound experience and an unwavering commitment to global road safety. It is with great pleasure that we introduce our special guest, Jean Todt. He's the Special Envoy of the United Nations for Road Safety and former President of the FIA Motorsports governing body. Jean, an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I followed your career closely. You have so much expertise, so much experience. So it is an absolute privilege to have you participating in this podcast about road safety. The first thing I'd like to do, and obviously you're a renowned profile and personality in the world of motorsport, but tell us exactly what your career path is, obviously quickly, and the work that you do with the UN right now.
It's well known that my career has been about motor racing. I started as a rally car driver and was hoping at the time to be a Formula One champion. And I changed quite quickly of objective when I thought I liked experiencing running a team, running people, choosing people, teamwork. In the meantime, I was appointed in 2015 because I realized first how dangerous was motorsport and how much progress we did to make it less dangerous. And I thought that motorsport had to be also a laboratory and be used on social level, on the road. And then when I realized that 1.2 million people were dying every year on the road, that 50 million people were injured, that it was the number one cause of death for young people, I thought we needed to do more. And it's something I discussed at the time with the Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon. And he agreed on the idea. And he appointed me as his special envoy, which was the first time it occurred. And when I stepped out from my position of FIA end of 21, I put a lot more focus in this position. I'm trying to build also a dream team to address road safety around the world, which is a big challenge. But that's why I'm thankful to global organizations, sporting organizations like UEFA, Olympic Committee, FIFA, World Athletic Federation, to join me in my effort and to give me the hand through different programs like the one we are doing now.
Your insight, your expertise is so valuable for our program, Jean, and you've had such a career with so much success. You're a voice that brings authority to this topic, and I think it's so valuable to be able to share this expertise with the football community, because this is not necessarily a topic that is discussed day in and day out in the football community. So tell us, as an introduction, why road safety is such an important issue in today's world and why the football community should be involved in it.
I mean, the population, in fact, it has been an increase of population, which is spectacular because 80 years ago, the planet was with 2.2 billion population, and now we are with 8.2. So 80 years after, the population has been multiplied by 4 times. And each citizen is a road user, as pedestrian, cyclists, motorcyclists, passenger, road car users, and very vulnerable. And I mean, the figures are scary. I mentioned earlier, 1.2 million people dying on the road, 50 million people are injured. And of course, depending, discrepancy from one country to another one is different. To give you, a scale, it's the best countries are 2 deaths for 100,000 population, and the worst are 35. So you have this discrepancy from 2 to 35. And mainly in the developing world, that's where people are the most vulnerable. And a lot of the victims are young people. When they come to train, to play football, or to practice any kind of sport, to go to practice a sport, or to come back, or to go to attend to one sporting event, they are very vulnerable. And that's why we need to teach them, we need to educate them, So we know what to do. It's around education, law enforcement, quality of vehicles, quality of roads, quality of post-crash cares. And incidentally, we are running some campaign with some influencers, some celebrities, champions, Olympic champions, football champions, like Ousmane Dembélé, Didier Drogba, on educating people on respect the speed limit, not drink and drive, not text and drive, not wearing the safety belt in the front, in the rear, wearing a proper helmet, because all those initiatives of prevention will definitely help to save a lot of life. And if you see the normal life, often you see not only the poorest people are the most vulnerable, but also elites. We see often, coming back from a football game, a great champion had a car crash on the motorway with a big car and lost his life. Or athletic champion with a big car losing their life anywhere around the world, and so we want to avoid that because it is avoidable.
You're so right in saying that we are all vulnerable when we are on the roads, and it comes down to being responsible. I'm going to ask you a little bit later what are some of those key messages that you and the UN and some of these famous faces and voices are trying to promote around the world. When it comes to the campaign you mentioned, Make a Safety Statement campaign, I imagine it's something which is global, which is in different languages and has different messages. What kind of impact do you think it is having in the different communities, and how can you work to be even more impactful when you have a campaign such as this?
It's an amazing campaign when you look a bit more into the details. So I'm very happy that in fact it's the first time that the United Nations is promoting such a campaign with the number one billboard company, JCDecaux, who have taken the challenge with us, which has given us some free space to be able to establish, to publicize this campaign all over the world, in Africa, in Latin America, in Middle East, in Europe, in Asia. So and with the support of 20 global celebrities and also national celebrities and Olympic champions. So it's a combined effort to address and to try to influence young generation on behavior. But of course, this campaign will be stronger if it's a strong relay. If everybody is promoting this campaign through social media, any kind of way of enlarging the the diffusion of this campaign is absolutely essential.
You mentioned some of the famous faces and voices that have been a part of this campaign. As part of the module on road safety, UEFA also had an opportunity to speak with German racing driver Mick Schumacher. And now we're going to have an opportunity to hear what he has to say about the topic of road safety and the importance of being attentive and focused on the road.
Well, road safety in general has always been a topic and sort of an issue. I think a lot of lives are being lost every year, unfortunately, to it, and a lot of them are avoidable. So I think that's why we kind of have to showcase what we can do to protect those lives, what we can do to save those lives. And so, yeah, I think the more awareness we create, the better. You have so many different ways that things can go wrong on the road. People are pretty much, most of the time they drive distracted, unfortunately, and they will not be able to react the right way. Sometimes it can be because of speeding, it can be because of being on their phones, or it could be also simply just something like eating whilst driving, which is something, not many people think about, but it is distracting and it is hard to do two things at the same time.
Jean, if you had to pick the main risk factors for all of us when navigating the roads, what would those risk factors be? What are the top ones that are the most dangerous?
I would say speed. The impact. You can see you have all the information about that, the different and impact at 30 kilometers an hour compared to 50 kilometers an hour to 80 kilometers an hour. Is absolutely dramatic. So speed is essential. And then, of course, any conditions, not wearing a safety belt can have terrible circumstances. Use of a helmet. Helmet is, I use it as a vaccine because what is the most vulnerable part, even for bicycle, And if you take now, if you go in any ski resort, you will see everybody with one helmet because people have realized that the most fragile part of the human body is the skull. So helmet is absolutely essential. And of course, we mentioned earlier, drink and drug driving, because, if you are driving under influence, you are completely different. And you are, even a pedestrian, a drunk pedestrian can be dangerous for people who are driving. So it goes both ways, And so good behavior is absolutely essential. And distraction or tiredness of use of the phone, then, if you are on the road, you must be focused, you must be concentrated. But it's a fact of life. Whatever you do in life, if you want to eat properly, you must, in a way where you are responsible of your acts. If you are not responsible of your acts, you become dangerous.
You mentioned distractions and the use of a phone, and I notice every day on the roads now, especially in traffic, that people are sending messages. They are on their phone whilst they're in traffic. How much of an issue is it in this new generation, and especially with the younger drivers who are used to being on their phone constantly throughout the day and leaving their device to the side when they drive? And how much of a problem have you identified when it comes to this kind of distraction?
I mean, if you have your eyes on your iPhone rather than on the road, I mean, you see the result. It's like a blind driving. And here, I think it is important to connect with partners. And it's for example, I was asking what the best to guide you to go from one place to another one, and it's Google Map, it's Waze. We need to work with those companies because they have a responsibility as well. So we need to engage as many stakeholders as possible to make sure that we are going to solve the problem. We are going to undertake something which is strong to avoid to have so many victims on the road.
That's clear. And it's a good time to bring Mick Schumacher back into this conversation, because he talked about the importance, obviously, of being safe on the road, also about the dangers that are out there, especially when it comes to young drivers with less experience and the need to respect speed limits, like you were just mentioning.
I would say young people are so vulnerable on the let's say road safety side, mainly because of lack of experience. They don't have maybe the life experience, the impact those situations could have in their lives, or also somebody else's life. Maybe they don't think quite as far, and they might put themselves into a position where they believe they can control it, but actually they don't, and then suddenly things go out of hand, and you're moving essentially machinery which is heavy but also has a lot of power at times, and these things can go wrong really quickly and easily, because the human body unfortunately is very fragile, and the car is pretty robust, so these two things don't go pretty hand in hand. So they're a dangerous mix at times, and so therefore we have to be very careful. I mean, the speed limits are there for a reason. They're there to keep the environment in which you are moving safe, because obviously they will be adjusted to whether you are in a safe environment or not. On a highway, most likely you'll be able to go quicker than on a normal road or in the city, for example, and there's a reason for that. So yeah, the main reason why going above those speeds will be dangerous is because things will be coming towards you much quicker, effectively. I mean, that's how speed works. And so your reaction time suddenly decreases massively, and your chances to maybe getting the car to stop in the right way and at the right time suddenly becomes very marginal and maybe very difficult to do. So essentially the speed limits are there for a reason, for a good reason, and therefore we all should try and follow them.
So interesting to get the perspective there from Mick Schumacher. Jean, if I was going to ask you to give us 3 quick insights or pieces of advice, recommendations for being safe on the road, what would they be?
Be responsible. Be focused, be concentrated. Make sure that if you are in a car, you have your safety belt well buckled. If you are on a motorbike, that you have your helmet well buckled. And then be focused on the road. Look only on the road.
That's pretty clear. And I think what's particularly valuable about this partnership and this campaign that UEFA has developed as well is that by working together with the UN, by working together with other institutions who are experts in this topic, they can really make a difference. And that's what I wanted to ask you about as well, Jean, the importance of sports joining forces to spread these messages and the impact that you hope this can have, and that football, as arguably the world's most popular sport, can have in distributing this message to its global audience, right?
Yeah, but probably football is the most seen sport in the planet. And not only seen but also practice. I mean, you can find any kind of angle in the jungle, in the desert, and you can play with a ball. You can play football. So that's the kind of word national game. And that's why, I mean, all those who play football are vulnerable on the road. And it's something which you need to remind. So if all those people who are engaged, involved in football, are cautious on the road, it's clearly the best ambassadors you can expect to have.
And it's true that obviously so many people in the football industry are on the road, not just the players, not just the coaches, but the parents who are many times taking their children to training sessions, professionals who are working in the game. What are some of the lessons that we should be teaching the young people when we're sharing moments with them in our cars? If we have an opportunity to influence the next generation whilst we're sharing a space in our cars and having a period of time with them and sharing maybe valuable moments, what are some of these lessons that we should be passing on when it comes to safety, when it comes to responsibility, and also building a connection with the next generation?
But I will say same values than the one to train them to be football champion. Discipline, just engage, try to do the things properly, go to the end, don't leave things for granted that nothing will happen, because that's when you think that nothing will happen that things do happen. So be very engaged, very focused, very professional, and don't think that it happened only to the others, because it can happen to you as well.
I have a couple of final questions for you. One, as I have to ask you, you worked with so many of the world's top drivers. You were a top driver yourself earlier in your career. What are some of the experiences from professional driving that all of us can learn from when we're on the road? You mentioned the concentration, but is there anything else that you can share with us regarding the behavior we should have?
Discipline, and I mean, each human being has its own limit, so never go over your limit. Never think that I can do it because I'm better than the others, because then the reality comes very quickly. You have everyone at its own limits and never go over them. And find them. Find your limit.
Makes perfect sense. Finally, I wanted you to talk a little bit more about the importance of the United Nations and UEFA joining forces for this road safety campaign.
I'm very, very proud. I like to put the best together. So, UN for me, the amazing organization, United Nations, and working with one established sporting organization like UEFA, which has such a good image, good program, good championships. Work so well hand in hand. So we need to work together and to contribute to make life safer on the roads to everybody.
Jean Todt, an absolute pleasure to have you on this episode of the UEFA Take Care program. Thank you so much for sharing your insight, your expertise, and giving us such valuable advice on what our behavior should be on the road and what people can learn from experienced professionals like yourself when it comes to being safer for our benefit and the benefit of those around us as well.
Thank you. That was my pleasure to share this program with you.
And that brings the 5th episode of UEFA's Take Care podcast series to a close. We have one module left. In order to find out more information about UEFA's Take Care program, you can go to their website at uefa.com and also follow their digital channels. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board for another episode. See you again soon.